Moin! Today we're making custom polyhedral dice straight from the 3D printer, fully encased in metal, including the iconic D20. Because honestly, starting the new year with a dice roll just feels right? In this episode, I'll show you how I make these using both FDM and Resin 3D printing, what you actually need to get started, and I'll share some new tips and tricks to help your electroplating 3D prints come out clean and consistent. I've added a few pop-up DIY notes along the way to keep things clear and easy to follow. So enjoy the kickoff of Season 5 of Here we see a maker in hibernation, but not for much longer. It's time he starts building something again. But before he even gets started, he takes care of his PPE. Goggles, gloves, a respirator and a lab coat. Now I'll start by designing a few dice. It's fairly exciting and done pretty quickly. I choose a special font for the dice. Can you tell which one? Instead of the 20 of the D20, I put my logo. Why not? And now it's time to print, first with a resin printer. Resin prints are incredibly easy to code. They are super precise and great to prep for plating. That said, they take a bit more effort to make. Printing, washing, and then curing. Support structures come off really nicely with a bit of heat. And here they are, looking pretty good so far. So, on to the FDM printing. This whole thing doesn't come with any crazy requirements. Just start the printer, use a low layer height and let it rip. The results are good, but there's one problem: the prints aren't watertight. Electrolyte can creep inside and completely ruin the plating. There's where products like this sealing stuff comes in. I submerge the FDM prints in this liquid and it seeps into every tiny gap and seals everything up. Wipe off the excess, wait 24 hours and it's dry. In practice, this works really well for me. Just for fun, I took a look at the surface with a kid's microscope. Everything's pretty much smeared and sealed now. Now let's talk about smoothing. Every detail that isn't smooth will show up later. Just look at the logo. So my best practice for resin print, I grab some sandpaper and work my way up through finer and finer grids on a flat surface. This can take a long time, but trust me, it's worth it. The result should look at least like this: no visible layers, no artifacts. FDM is a bit different. Here I start with a coarser grid, just 1 or 2 strong passes. Then I use filler to close up the gaps and cracks. It's important that the filler fully cures. To speed that up, you can use an oven. If you clear that with whoever else used the oven, it's usually not a problem. After that, it's back to sanding. In the end, my results look roughly like this. So, what do I need to make the 3D prints conductive? That's essential for electroplating. I've got a few different materials I like to work with, and of course you'll find these and pretty much everything else I use for plating linked in the video description. Most of the time I use my diluted copper conductive paint. Graphite paint also gives great results. I used silver paint in the past, and spray can copper conductive paint works well too. In another video I showed how I make graphite paint myself. I've linked that one here for you. Alright, let's go. The paint should have about this consistency. Then I spray several layers of conductive paint onto my 3D prints. Let it dry properly. Alright, time to electroplate. We need an acidic bright copper electrolyte, copper anodes, they are important and they do get consumed, and a regulated power supply. That's the basic setup, but I usually run a bit more gear than that. For electrolytes, I'd always recommend going commercial. DIY mixes are, well, let's just say tricky, but what else actually matters? Come on Hendrik, say it. Power supply, super important, must support constant current and be properly regulated. Anodes, With a bit of luck, hardware stock copper can work. Magnetic stirrer, pretty much essential. Rotary jig, nice to have, not critical. Anode bags, very important. Now we wire up the bass. How easy that is, you've probably seen in just about every other video of mine. Next, the copper coated part goes in, and only then do we turn on the power supply and set the correct current. Otherwise, the full amperage rushes through the tiny contact point and everything gets burned. Turn on the stirrer and we're good to go. We checked after about 1 hour to see if everything is working, then we give the setup a bit more power. Yes. After roughly 4 hours, the parts usually come out nice and shiny, but they still have some uneven spots and impurities. No big deal though, those polish out really well either by hand or with a polishing attachment. Before we look at the final result, let me quickly show you how I clean my electrolyte. Contaminated electrolytes are annoying and cleaning them is a messy job, but hey, that's part of it. Alright, first I separate the coarse stuff from the electrolyte. Copper, sludge and all the things that definitely don't belong in there. Coffee filters work great for this, by the way. Next, I use activated charcoal, yes, the kind you could technically eat, to clean the electrolyte with its insane surface area. It also binds organic contaminants. I honestly don't know exactly how much I use, but roughly about this much. That goes straight into the electrolyte. At this point it still looks pretty harmless. Then I let it swirl around with the stirrer for a while. After about 30 minutes I stop everything and let the charcoal settle to the bottom for a few days. Now I carefully scoop off the electrolyte and filter it through a very fine filter fleece. By the way, the brightener gets filtered out as well, so I add that back in afterward. One last mix and ta-da! Okay, now let's look at the polished results. The FDM dies turned out great, really nice surfaces, super reflective and shiny with hardly any visible layer remnants. They've got a pleasant weight and that cool metallic feel. The resin prints came out a notch more flawless, really good. The harsh lighting exaggerates every tiny flaw with the naked eye, but they're actually hard to spot. There are tons of metals I could apply now as a decorative layer. In the end though, I almost always go for nickel, palladium and gold. This time I'm doing one die set in nickel and one in gold. Nickel is pretty nasty stuff, honestly, use palladium instead if you can. Technically I'm nickel plating 2 die sets first. First, gold deposits better on nickel, second, the nickel layer prevents diffusion. The whole process only takes about a minute, the same goes for gold plating, 1 minute is enough for a nice clean layer. All of these electrolytes are hobby-grade materials that you can easily buy over here. In my older videos I go into a lot more detail about gold and nickel plating. You might watch that. Yeah, isn't that beautiful? A really nice dice set. Now, you could go one step further and use something like engraver's wax or ink to fill in the individual numbers. That would make them even easier to read, but I can imagine that getting pretty fiddly, so it would probably just be a quick mention here in the video. Much more important to me is giving a shout out to my awesome channel members. Thanks so much for being here. I truly appreciate it. So if you feel like trying this yourself, there are some more detailed videos on the channel covering the individual steps. And I'm always super happy about comments, likes and of course subscriptions, yeah, of course. Thanks a lot for watching my videos. Next time it'll be something big again. Tschüss.